This is Mukbil Ahmer, Executive Editor, Greyhead Media. Friends, first of all, I hope all of you are safe and sound in the precincts of your homes. These are indeed trying times for everyone. And as enterprises, companies, and people shift to a work from home model, we have noticed that there is a spike in cyber crimes and attacks. In fact, cybersecurity has found center stage and is the focus of several conversations today. To discuss the latest trends in cybersecurity, I am today joined by Mr. Om Ahuja, Senior Vice President at Inspira Enterprise India Limited. With more than 2 decades of rich and extensive experience, Om has had a great run. Welcome, Om. I hope you are doing good.
Yeah, doing well. I hope all our listeners and people are safe and sound, and hope we will move in a better direction in coming days.
Right. So, Om, delving straight away into the conversation at hand, what do you see as the major trends emerging in cybersecurity today?
Yeah. So, major trends which are emerging in cybersecurity, especially when we look in our current situation in India, is, one, a lot of dynamics. Suddenly your security architecture has changed. You had to force people to work from home, and the traditional architecture of, a centralized security, components and various security solutions coming in place, they have now disappeared. Okay. So you would have a centralized gateway where people used to come to office and then connect to internet and various enterprise applications. Those have changed. So based on my view, people started working from home. Your endpoint, many people, many companies have not been able to provide laptops. So the trust atmosphere in terms of, people bringing their own laptops, changing the security architecture, and then moving off a lot of applications from in-premise to cloud is the scenario what we're looking at in short term to medium term. So we've seen these changes. Earlier, we had seen changes. Customers want to integrate their Office 365 coming in play and all that. Now customers have started moving their DR into the cloud. And they have moved in not critical applications on cloud hosting like AWS, Azure, NetMagic. Unfortunately, while we are interviewing today, there is a news that the Azure Central Command, Central India infrastructure is down. So some customers are facing issues. So, as we see the change, a lot of new things and a lot of new architectures are coming into play. So there are 3 learnings coming in place. One, we need to move into a new architecture. That is a zero trust architecture, where your trust comes in as soon as an entity connects into your network. Second, you have to have a more agile architecture, IT architecture. So that also you need to look into that. Your security controls, compliance has to become more agile. And third is your monitoring parameters have changed drastically. So what do you monitor, how do you monitor, and what kind of operational depth you look into are changing now.
Yeah, so Om, coming to the next question, we see that advanced analytics and machine learning now form a critical component of the modern SOC platform. Would you like to elaborate on this?
Yes, especially when you have different, the user sets are growing dynamically. You have partners connecting into your network. You have multiple application strategy where your in-premise data center, you're accessing certain cloud infrastructure as a service, and you're also accessing certain applications where the SaaS model comes into play. Now, all these things and giving a connected, holistic view on security is a challenge. So you if your data set for 1,000 users, still the traditional architecture is available. But then as you move to 2,000, 3,000 users, and your IT population grows, your dynamics change. Now, for an analyst to view the alerts on day in and day out basis becomes really challenging because the number of alerts are increasing. You have multiple systems which are throwing alerts, and then there are multiple gateway level protocols which show a lot of information. How do you decipher them? So you have machine learning models which are adopted and which are shaping up what you call the place for a modern SOC. Now you need to understand how you develop those machine learning models, and how you build certain things. So what we have seen is that there are supervised learnings and unsupervised learnings. Now there have been discussions in terms of what model would best suit for what is more suitable for security. In my view, it's a mix and match of both. You need to have a structured learning on your machine learning coming into play because every organization behaves in a different manner. For example, for a bank, my machine learning would be, parameters for users, their behavior patterns will be different. I will have different set of users. I'll have branch users coming into play. I have treasury users coming into play, the loan department users coming into play, and even the central office users coming into play. So how do I develop machine learning models? Also, how their external customers, connect, how they are different vendors who's responsible for managing different infrastructure, how do they manage? So the dynamics change. So
Correct.
a supervised machine learning helps you to set what you call the basic framework of where the analytical model needs to play around, sets up the basic behavior pattern for them, and then you moved into the unstructured learning within those parameters where you can see zero-day attacks, machine learning, small behavior patterns coming into play. So you have now solutions where from a traditional SIM solution now moved into a UEBA. You're also capturing a lot of network flow. So you have north-south traffic. Earlier you used to capture, now you're also capturing the east-way traffic because you have virtual machines, you have data flowing into the cloud, amongst different departments, what kind of data is flowing, and all those things. So you have tons of data coming into play, and then how do you analyze that? So obviously we'll require machine learning models coming into the picture, but it's a mix and match of things what we need to look into as we move forward.
Right. So Om, automation has been the buzzword with the deployment of technologies such as SOAR. How does it help with staffing issues, or particularly the lack of skilled professionals, which is widely seen these days?
That's a really good question, and I think let me first decipher this into two parts. One is the organization where you don't have a SOC or a proper security, information security framework. They have been growing suddenly, and then they look to build the SIM. They look to build their security operations, and then they think of automation coming into play. Now, those set of customers will, look into a holistic architecture. But my suggestion for them is to have a step-by-step approach where they can have the basic solutions in place, have the basic operations in place, have a maturity in terms of what goes into analyzing an incident. How do you escalate? What is your decision-making parameters? Obviously, you'll be working with an outsourced partner, or you'll build an in-house team. You will have certain compliances to be fulfilled. How those compliances will be taken care of. Have a basic framework in place, and then looking for automation. And you also need to realize that automation is not beneficial for small, medium to give you that level. You then look at where they already have a basic operational security framework. They have a SIM solution in place for last 5 years. They have a defined governance framework within their SOC. That is where then they can think of security automation coming into play. Firstly, a SOAR will not automate all the responses. A SOAR may not, remove what you call 3 layers of, people skills like your L1s, L2s, and N3s coming into play. SOAR will first help you to speeden up your analysis and your decision making. Now, for example, I have this event coming in. What is the background on this event? Okay. For example, I have a malicious, I will say it's a simple thing of an email where a URL IP is given. How do I categorize that into phishing or non-phishing? What is the reputation of that particular IP coming into play? How long that URL was created? And then, giving the capability for an analyst to get deeper into it, to understand what things are there, cut down his time for analysis, and then decide on what action needs to be taken. So you can automate the relevant actions. So 2 things. One, you can analyze things much faster using SOAR platform, and you can automate your decision making. But the decision making capacity and the workflows will be as it is. So you need to have the same decision making capability implemented in that particular framework.
Right. Thank you for your very comprehensive response, Om. So going on to the next question, there is a general perception about how proactive hunting and investigation of threats is a really surefire way of shoring up defenses. Any thoughts on that?
So when we look into a particular, as we've discussed on deployments of machine learning and the usage of artificial intelligence into the platform. We also talked about automation using SOAR platforms. Now, proactive threat hunting is when you integrate external threat intelligence from multiple sources and then apply that on your supervised and unsupervised learnings, which from your machine learning algorithms, because you would use automation for your defined processes and your defined threats. You need to focus on learnings which come in from unsupervised or undefined, uncategorized events. What are those patterns which are coming into place? Now we dwell more into those patterns, understand what these patterns and behavior mean. Can I correlate into that multiple areas? For example, in a particular department, I see a particular pattern, and using that pattern, I see 2 or other 3 patterns emerging in other departments and other areas. So then we try to decipher in detail as to from where that packet flows comes into play, and then get deeper and deeper. So one, you need to understand that a proactive hunting, not patterns, changes in the patterns is an exercise which gets into it. And then when you see those patterns and you feel that these patterns are making an interesting analysis and I need to get deeper into it, I get deeper into my threat hunting. And this is what you call the proactive threat hunting part coming into play, where I integrate my external threat intelligence data, apply on my set of data patterns, and then probably hunt for those kind of similar threats that may be emerging.
Right. So Om, the next question is why adaptive security architectures are needed to prevent, detect, and respond to attacks in today's cybersecurity and infosec landscape.
An amazing analysis and insightful question what you had. Now the word adaptive is under changing threats on real time. Now the word adaptive is very important because the solution or the platform which I put into place learns about my organization better and then gives me more visibility in terms of what is inside my operation. Now when I include the external threat patterns related to my industry and my organization, I get more insight. So I am constantly adopting, analyzing my security threats and my event data on the new updated threats which are relevant to me. Okay, now there are tons and tons of CVE alerts and threat alerts which come in, but when you have an ability to get threat intel and threat information, you are able to decipher what is relevant to me and my organization, and then you get deeper into it. Makes more sense. You are actually cutting down a lot of noise. You are being very thoughtful and selective what makes sense to you, and then get deeper into it. It's you would look into something simple. You would have seen the days of IPS. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then by default everybody enables all the signatures on the IPS without understanding what is my underlying infrastructure, what it means to be. Okay, and then the IPS getting slower and then not making any sense. Its ability to scan and speed both gets compromised. Now, if I apply that IPS analogy on all my different security controls, and then on my cyber security, this is the analogy which I would like to fit and build on. And the word adaptable comes into play, where I make it more adaptable to relevant threats for my organization. And how do we analyze and look for cyber threats on the platform. So this new adaptable architecture and this solution platform helps you to constantly learn, analyze your own organizational behavior, and gives you more insightful outcome matching to your organization.
Correct. So Om, coming to the last question of the interview, what do you think are the business benefits that can be derived out of, say, an analytics-driven security operations center or SOC?
Firstly, you may be looking at building up your own SOC or tying up using a managed security services provider. In any of the cases, an analytics-driven SOC helps you to have 4 to 5 key benefits. One, it becomes very agile. Agile in the word in the sense like when I integrate my external threat data coming into play, when I apply that threat data relevant to your organization, and then I have the machine learning output of both the supervised and the unsupervised patterns coming into play, I give you a better outcome, or you get a better outcome, whether it's your own SOC or some managed security service provider builds you that part. So you become more agile, you become more adaptable. Agility and adaptability comes into play. Secondly, you are more focused. You look at what's missing on those patterns, what behavior is not matching the relevant architecture, and then you analyze those things better. And you will Mukbil, you will sometimes laugh. A UEBA solution which is integrated into the SOC tells you whether a person is a smoker or not, how many times he leaves his desk, okay, whether he's a power user or not, how many phone calls does he answer, okay. So you can actually categorize people, you can monitor their behavior, you can look into certain things, and you will really laugh at certain things where in this current COVID situation, we wanted to. Most of our SOC analysts are operating from home. So we were looking at, so our HR brought in a model where they wanted to look at what is the performance of all our, people who are actually supporting certain customers. So they wanted to see if it's a client relevant application and all that. So when we looked into on SOC, we thought that these all things are available through my web proxy and my endpoint agent, and if I create a particular view, I can give a particular business relevant information for my users, that if your person is working on this project, he's accessing this data, that means he's doing his work. If he's not accessing this data or he's looking into something else for a particular period of time, he may be answering a phone call or something like that. So, a lot of use cases come in, and most of these are business use case. So we have built, suddenly you had this Swift, couple of years back, you have that Swift incident where a lot of cash was going out from a Bangladesh bank to Swift, and they were not able to monitor that part. So when we saw that, the customer, most of these small and medium banking customers don't have a fraud risk engine. So we build a use case on the SIM platform and give them an outcome as to what are their top 10 Swift transactions, which Swift transactions are after a cutoff time of 6 p.m. and all that stuff. So a lot of these things come into play. A platform comes in, there is, apart from security outcome, there are a lot of business controls which come out. You can do a lot of business controls, and if those business controls are evaluated by business owners or the process owners, most of this risk, most of these security breaks can be controlled because they understand their business better. As a technology guy, we understand the technology events and patterns better, but then how those patterns or data impact their business, they have a better view, and then they can guide us better. So a machine learning pattern, unsupervised and supervised learning pattern, and automation for analyzing a particular incident and then helping to decide what actions are to be automated. So then I can automate those actions at a quick split of time, can help me cut down my threats in a much faster way, provide me better decision making parameters. I have more parameters and more models I can add for my decision making, and then take these things forward. A simple thing I would like to add, we get a lot of alerts from Certain every day. A lot of banks get alerts. Okay, now what these banks do is that they create a block rule on their IP firewalls. Yeah. And there is no one later, like after 15 days, 30 days, no one analyzes whether that IP or a particular URL is relevant, whether the threat is still valid. And then you have a large list of, my block rules coming into firewall. Then after 2 years, 3 years, you say my firewall is not performing. Let us change the firewall. So when we started with some of these larger banks and large customers, we built up a automation process where after every 15 days, whatever block rule based on the external alerts we create on our firewall, the URL or the IP address reputation is scanned from 15 sources, 30 sources, and then basis on this, we give a outcome to the customer that this threat is not relevant. In most of the times, that IP is not existent. It would have been dead. Remove that. So, lot of small tweaks and innovation helps you to improve. And this also helps me to improve my IT automation, my overall IT infrastructure. So you have a lot of this small tweaks and learnings which come out of it and which you can share. And these things are possible when you look at the overall governance framework. So as I summarize, I bring in agility, I bring adaptability, I bring in more intelligence and smartness in the way I operate. And fourthly, I have got multiple data sets now to add and to review before I take a decision. Okay, and this will help me to improve my security operations, my IT operations, and for any IT department, it will help them serve their customers, internal and external customers much better.
Right. Om, thank you so much for your most comprehensive and detailed responses. And friends, I really hope that we learned a lot about the current trends in the domain of cybersecurity and information security. And we would also be able to, through this knowledge sharing, I hope we are able to take care of our cybersecurity concerns and issues And thank you so much, Om, for joining us here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mukul. Please stay safe.